Yeah, we're good. Yeah, that's good. Ah, hello.
Welcome.
How are you? Yay. Hey, everybody. Nice to see you. Okay, welcome to Survival of the Fittest. Bulk up your margins with Inkjet. A lot of people are talking about Inkjet. I want to tell you that yesterday we had a gentleman in the booth who asked what Inkjet was. So wasn't sure if it was a new type of printing, like another category, or if it fit into digital printing. So, you know, you're all running really far forward, but don't forget that there are people just starting the race behind you, and you still need to talk to them through your communications. You need to go back and get them, and that's kind of like the model of Print Media Center, no print mind left behind. And we stay and stay and stay, and that's why I've stayed on Inkjet for 5 years, so that we can have this panel and we can tell people that there's an opportunity there. And the opportunity is that people will need to make their print be relevant to one individual as well as masses at the same time. Now, while that is certainly left, the messaging is left to the marketing people, the medium is left to the print people. And unless we start walking that walk and helping everybody get to where we want to go, step by step by step, and then sometimes going back to help other people, we're going to lose the opportunity. But that was my preachy moment, and now we're going to start the panel because I believe in Inkjet. I believe in Inkjet. Okay, so Inkjet panel. See technology. Oh my God. My iPad is logged. Okay, here we go. Roger, Rico, who are you, what do you do, and why Inkjet? Oh, and I'm sorry, please pull the mic out.
All right.
No, take it out of the thing.
All right, here we go. Is this working? We good?
Yeah, but
All
talk
right.
loud.
Okay, so who am I as in me, the individual?
Who are
or-
you, what
Yeah.
do you do, and why Inkjet?
Okay, so I'm Roger Surratt. I'm a global
Can
marketing
everybody
manager.
hear him back? They
Can you guys
can't hear
me?
you.
No?
No.
Okay.
The guy in the front can't hear you.
Step closer. No. All right, so I'm Roger Surratt. I'm a global production marketing manager for Rico. And you asked why Inkjet, right? So, you know, it's easy to look at emerging technologies or evolving technologies, especially what you were talking about in the very beginning about how, you know, people are being left behind and such. I think if you look at the space we're in today, Inkjet, it's an emerging technology in several areas of the print business, but it's a game changer when you look at technologies relative to how we communicate. So we're sitting up here and you're banging away on your iPad and looking at your screen and stuff like that, and that's a perfect example of how all this competition for our space, our eyes, our attention, every second of every day. I actually thought about this as I'm sitting here having this conversation. I got 2 phones on me, and they're like buzzing at the same time. I'm being texted. So even having this conversation, my attention is being pulled away from it. Inkjet has this ability to take some of those lanes or ideas or thoughts and merge them together. That's the way I look at that technology. And I think that's why Rico is investing in it, and that's why everybody on this panel is investing in it. They see it as an opportunity to keep reaching out to marketing and pushing messages in a push-pull type of information system.
Thank you so much. Mark Johnson, who are you, what do you do, and why Inkjet?
Same question. That makes it easy.
Yes.
I'm Mark Johnson. I'm the marketing manager for our high-volume commercial print, direct marketing, and publishing segments within HP. And one of the things that makes Inkjet exciting for HP is how many people have desk jets at home? So when we say Inkjet's been around a while, we're talking about a 40-year history of Inkjet. And we came at it from the home, from the small individual printer, and we've scaled that technology up and up and up and up. Our production inkjet presses have been out in the market since about 2008 when we launched them at Drupa. And we've got, I think we just made the announcement here, about 250 billion pages so far have been produced on our presses across the world, which is a huge number. So I don't want to call it an emerging technology, but you're right, it is still emerging. When we look at the number of trillions of pages being printed with offset, today, Inkjet is still a very tiny percentage of that. And one of the things that we're doing as a PC manufacturer, somebody who makes the tablets and the phones as well, we look at print as a vital part of the marketing mix, and it's a vital way for brands to get the attention of the consumer, whether it's in a publication or a catalog or a direct mail piece or on the box itself. You know, we see anything where you're putting branding and messaging on a thing that a consumer sees as a marketing vehicle, as a way to talk to people and a way to have that conversation start. So we view print as a vital part of that. Inkjet is a way to make that happen to the masses in a very customized way. So shrinking the run lengths down to 1, that's a critical thing that Inkjet can do for you.
Thanks so much. Eric Holdo, Kanika Minolta.
Hello, I'm Eric Holdo. I'm the Vice President of the Graphic Communications and Industrial Print line of business for KM. And I'll tell you, I mean, we've been in the inkjet business for 40 years. But I'll tell you that why inkjet is important to you now is we've reached the limits of toner-based production in speed. You know, speed in toner-based is heat, dwell time, and other factors that mess with the page. We've reached those limits. The only way you can get to variability is through inkjet, where you have a non-invasive process on the piece. So, for example, 17 years ago, we launched textile printing using inkjet technology. Today, we're showing embellishments, 3D embellishments in foil using inkjet technology, and printed electronics and built-up ceramics with inkjet and aerosol jet technology. So it's about flexibility with things that you wish you could have done before on a press or wish you could have done on a toner-based device, but because of the natural limitations of both, inkjet's really the only way forward on this. So it's going to give you flexibility to compete in the marketplace at speeds and sizes that you really couldn't before.
Thanks so much. Chad Cook, Canon Solutions America.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm Chad Cook. I'm actually the inkjet specialist for the Southeast.
Can you guys hear Chad back there?
Closer? Further away?
More
Okay.
volume, right?
Not a problem. Chad Cook. I'm the inkjet specialist for the Southeast, so I cover a number of sales reps in that territory and a number of customers as well. 15-year veteran of the company, working with inkjet now for several years. Of course, Canon been in the inkjet game for a very long time. In fact, you look at some of our early inventions or early discoveries or patents in the inkjet space, even some of our competitors are using that type of technology today. As OSE, we were working with the inkjet technologies as well and trying to expand those into areas that were giving our customers the ability to provide the productivity and the cost model of inkjet so that they could expand their offerings and reduce their costs and what they provide to their customers while giving them incredibly wide varieties of communication methods. And when we look at today, I couldn't agree with you more, Deborah, about the education of our customers being a critical priority. I've got a training background as well. And looking at the number of customers out there that are currently using inkjet and the number that would like to be, it's our opportunity, it's our responsibility to educate them and hold their hand as they make the transition to inkjet and understand what does it bring to my organization as far as increased margins, which is part of what we're going to be talking about today, but also increase the number of products that I can make available to my customers. And we've got a great portfolio with Canon as a company. Today, we've got some great products that are coming on early next year as well. Some of them you can see at the Canon booth, number 1213. Please come by and take a look. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Every Wednesday at 4 p.m. I host Print Chat, and every year I ask the print chatters before the show what topics they're interested in. And I always know I'm going to have an inkjet panel, so I ask them what they would ask a panel of inkjet experts. And I have their questions. And because I'm the ambassador, I bring their questions to you, because I'm not a printer. I'm never going to buy a printer. You don't care about my questions. And we also have Jamie, the printer, in the front row. Jamie is from Allegra Princeton, and we brought him here to listen to these panels and ask real printer questions. And as a matter of fact, he's actually looking into inkjet technology for Allegra Princeton. So he couldn't be more of important to you in many ways, but Jamie also describes himself as a creative print strategist, which is why I said, please help me. And his business is one-stop shopping, so he's got a variety of equipment, so he's neutral. So just, that's my background on Jamie. So here's the question, and I'm going to ask it, but it's it's kind of poignant. So I'll just, in this case, I'll ask who wants to go first, and then I'll pick after that. Citing a recent customer example, how has Inkjet enabled new revenue growth, and what markets does that customer support with your Inkjet technology? You always say if you get my press, you can enter new revenue. They wanted a specific example of that. Mark, HP.
I'll take a stab at it. This is actually an old one, but what's interesting about it is it's recurring. So we're in September. How many of you are getting insurance enrollment materials from your employer or from the healthcare markets? Everybody know what I'm talking about with the books of doctors and the marketing materials and all of that hazara, all of that stuff. It's a lot of print. And what's happened in that space since about the last 10 years is instead of getting almost boxes of stuff in the mail, you're seeing a lot smaller stuff, right? It's being customized. They're not offset printing one thing for an entire market. They're shrinking it down to an employer, to a very specific region. So my example would be for the healthcare companies. I can't name the insurance company.
Can you guys hear him back there?
I can't name the insurance company, but I'll name the printer. O'Neill Data Systems got into that space. They were printing, financial stuff, Investors Business Daily and investor reports. They got into the insurance market because of two things. They saw that it was an offset application that could be redirected and it could be shrunk. The mailing costs could be shrunk, and they could make it more targeted. So by using Inkjet technology, they're able to reduce the mailing cost, more target their output, and then go into the adjacent areas of the marketing side of it, not just the here's who your doctor and the networks are, but here's some things you can do to get healthier. So as they were able to target messages to individual healthcare members, they could do that. The reason why Inkjet was also critically important for them was time to market. There's a very narrow window to get this stuff from the time it's released to the time it has to be in the mail, and by the way, it has to be verified that it's gotten to the intended recipient. So all of those factors, reducing the poundage of mail, getting it to the market faster, was a very profitable business for them, and it's grown. And a lot of other printers have gotten into this business too. O'Neill may have been the first and the largest, but you look at many commercial printers who have gotten into this space as the healthcare market has expanded.
Thanks so much, Rock. Eric Holdo? Kanika Minolta.
So we've seen, it's funny, we've seen a variety of reasons that somebody has entered with one of our Inkjet devices, and some of it's been size format of 23 by 29 inch. It's familiar, but a lot of it's been around substrates and the ability to go onto synthetics and some very challenging substrates, maybe highly textured, for example. And in one particular case, they're also doing microversioned posters where every single one is different, and you can't get there on a toner-based device, and you can't get there on a press because of the variability of it. So they specialize in one niche product that they produce for beverage distributors and things like that.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you. I'm working with a customer actually in South Florida. They're not having a great week, but prior to that, we had installed one of our cut sheet inkjet devices, the VariPrint i300. I think some of you are probably familiar with that, and worked with their sales force on understanding how do I capitalize on the new capabilities. So that's the capability or the possibility of additional personalization, but also the ability for short run inkjet. And being able to combine larger volumes of short runs of more profitable work, their direct mailer. So for them, it allowed them to actually go out to their existing client base and add an additional, in the first week, they called me and they said in the first week we were able to add additional volume equaling 8 million pieces per year, and we're expecting that to be the trend as we contact the balance of our customer base. So for them, it was really about growing page volumes, just by additional capabilities. We worked with their sales force to make sure they knew how to present that. And that's really what we're all about, is making sure our technology works best for you.
Roger, do you want me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Citing a recent customer example, how has Inkjet enabled revenue growth, and what markets does that customer serve?
So I think the answer to that is less about the litany of items that you can list relative to what Inkjet brings to your production floor. I think if you take a look at people who have moved, the producers who have moved into Inkjet and where they have leveraged revenue growth, and I'm thinking specifically of TriWin Direct down in Texas, they looked at the applications of Inkjet and said, I currently have this anchor application, happen to be a transactional piece, but ultimately they were looking for the future growth, that revenue growth that you're mentioning here. But it's a little bit different than if I have this anchor application and I'm able to begin printing here in a transactional space, you're asking, can I go into new markets? And the reality is, it's not new markets, it's thinking creatively about what you produce. So for them, they started looking at all these direct mail pieces that were coming around them into their business and how they were producing them originally and said, can I create a creative way to interact with my client's client? That's where the revenue growth was for them. It wasn't in thinking about, hey, I've got this anchor application and I can do more with this inkjet. It was more about, what can I do differently? What can I do unique? What can I add in the creative stream to make these pieces jump out and make more printers or more end users want to come to me to be the producer? So when I look at this equation of revenue growth, people always go back to, well, you can cut down on margins, you can make them efficiency, and you can make opportunity. It's capitalizing on that opportunity through creative agency.
Thank you so much. So Jamie the printer has a question, but before you ask your question, I actually want to ask you a question. You've been talking to a lot of the manufacturers on the floor about inkjet. Are they doing a good job communicating to you the value propositions of the different presses out there and the technology and answering your questions so you have a clear vision of what your path might be?
To your answer, yes, they have. But everybody keeps talking in millions of impressions. For a mid-sized printing company where we do customers that have 10,000 to 50,000 pieces a week or a month, for one customer, maybe we do 100,000 pieces of mail a week. Is that something that will fit for inkjet? Because everybody I've talked to, even you said short run, and then you're talking we increased 8 million, but
Per year.
per year, okay. So where do we fit in that size?
Who wants to take that first?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
All right, so that's a volume question, but if you look at that from just a strictly numbers position, you're saying, hey, if your duty cycle on a continuous feed inkjet system is 40 million a month, and that's what I'm producing, clearly, if you're at 8 million a year, that's not a continuous feed inkjet system that Ricoh's producing. But it doesn't mean inkjet isn't for you. There are devices, even within Ricoh, there are manufacturing processes where inkjet is an applicable fit. Oh, can't hear me? So it's a really more than an equation of, you mentioned, oh, is this better? Yeah. Thank you. All right, all right, let me, I don't know where you didn't hear it, right? But here's the deal. If you're starting to add up all those different customer applications, right? The reality is, can you use software to build a batch of systems and then take those all as, in quotes, one job, versus doing little bit, and looking for a system that does little bit. You're looking for a system that can pull that all together and run it all together. So you're getting a synergistic, efficient approach to a full month's worth of work versus looking at each individual job coming in and treating it as an individual job.
Mark?
Just go down the road. So that's a great question. When we talk to customers, we have presses that go from a 20-inch web, which you got to have about 7 million a month impression, or the need for that kind of speed, that burst speed, for it to make sense, all the way up to our 42-inch web press, which you can produce something north of 7,000 impressions per minute, 1,000 feet a minute. So the range is gargantuan, right? So if you're an R.R. Donnelley or an LSC Communications or a Quad Graphics, we got presses for you at the high end. For the smaller guys, that's where you're at the tip, right? Can I make a continuous feed inkjet press make sense for you? I've got customers with as little as 6 to 7 million impressions per month where that makes sense for them because they have burst speed needs. If it's less than that, that's the joys of having other technologies in your portfolio. We've got the Indigo presses, which work really well for a lot of mid-sized commercial printers. So that's why I would say it. Look at your burst speed and look at your volume requirements. And that's one of my limitations because I only have roll-fed inkjet. Some of my other friends here have cut sheet machines which can go a little bit lower.
Eric?
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes inkjet isn't the right answer necessarily for color printing. And frankly, if you're dealing with something in the range of what can be done with toner devices or electro ink devices or whatever, that might be the right way to go. I see inkjet playing into every shop, not necessarily from a CMYK print perspective, but potentially from UV, spot UV, foil, things like that. And that becomes affordable, and that becomes a market differentiator using inkjet technology, but just in a different way. But honestly, toner is still a valid means of producing a good print, and there's no reason to rush into inkjet unless you have a driving reason to do so, and that's pretty easy to define where are those cutoffs.
Chad?
Thank you, and I really like this question actually, because a lot of what I do as an inkjet specialist is I would visit your shop. We're going to take a look at your mix of work. If you've got a lot of short run work, that's great. We love it. It's typically more profitable, correct? So the more money we can make on that existing press by combining a lot of smaller jobs, typically the less work we need to find to be able to justify the press. And we're significantly south of 1 million impressions a month, and I'm talking in terms of impressions because it's a standard. But we're significantly south of 1 million typically with something like an i300 and a cut sheet inkjet device, and it makes sense. It's difficult to do that on a continuous feed press. I do a lot of that analysis as well. I don't disagree with the gentleman down the table either. In a lot of cases, that may be the direction we go. But when we've got options, including toner in some situations, so I'm not discounting that either, but if I can come into your shop and take your 100 different jobs of perhaps 10,000 apiece and make those make sense on a press versus doing it on any other medium, why wouldn't we look at that? And that's typically what I do. That's my job. So.
Does anyone else have questions? Questions? Sir, no question? You have a question? No? No questions? You have a question? Pat McGrew has a question.
Okay, it's on. Thank you. You were really scaring me there for a moment. So every one of you, speak up. Every one of you has a really fabulous inkjet solution, and you have complementary toner solutions. For me, it's about workflow. So having lived the dream in inkjet for the last 12, 13, 14 years, what I'm learning in dealing with customers sort of all over the world is that when it comes time to put that inkjet machine in, sometimes the missing conversation is about what they're going to have to do in order to get work to that machine. So you can build the ROI, right? And you can prove that it's the right machine to bring in. You all have great technology. What are each of you doing to make sure that that customer is now going to actually be able to get the work to the machine? Because when that fails, your machine is no longer a success.
Thanks. Is that a digital front end question?
Sort of.
Okay.
But it's a bridge.
Okay.
It's a bridge.
Okay, well, you guys understand it.
They do.
That's all that matters. So, Eric?
Yeah, so absolutely couldn't agree more that the workflow tends to be the great overlooked, or used to in some cases be the overlooked component. The way we start any engagement, whether it's for one of our print inkjet devices or an embellishment device, is we start with a foundational lean assessment of the entire shop. And we actually follow every step. We look for value-added versus non-value-added steps. We look for the 7 deadly wastes. We don't implement lean in the shop as a manufacturing process, but we use those tools to identify where the waste components are. Because the first thing, even before addressing the workflow from a software perspective, is the foundation has to be solid in which to build the house. This same holds true for adding any marketing services or other things that they may be going after. You've got to have that solid foundation. So we start with that, and then that helps dictates what that workflow looks like and how we address those things, like being able to get the volume of information to the press that needs to get there, and once it's there, can we run it? So it starts with that foundational component, and I'm sure everyone here probably does about the same thing. Then you have to have flexibility in what the way forward is from a software perspective, because it's not always just one particular package, and we may be coexisting with existing solutions in place, we may be replacing in other cases, so that flexibility is very important as well.
Thanks, Chad.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. If you can't drive data to the press, that doesn't matter how fast it is, correct? So from a standpoint of in the field guy, that's me. I'm typically traveling with somebody who is a solutions engineer, and he's involved from day one in any of those opportunities, because we're not only looking for how are we going to drive volume to the press, we're also looking what is the customer objective and how can we remove touches, anything that might be causing any type of additional cost to be associated with that printed piece. So whatever the objective of the customer happens to be, we work within our own platform, which is the Prisma suite of products, which is they're very robust. By the way, completely printer agnostic, so I'm happy to put one in front of any of your presses. But also, oh, okay. Well, see, you've got options. But
all your workflows are actually a key point, right?
Yeah.
I think all of them.
that's why we mention it. Yes, yes, and that is a key point. So it's a good to mention. But also, we work with a number of premier partners. So no matter where the bottlenecks may be, no matter what the objectives may be in the way of streamlining your processes, we've got somebody that we can involve that can help us with that. So we're walking in with a completely white sheet of paper when we go to walk into your shop to help determine, okay, not just what drives volume to my press, but what helps you deliver on your objectives. So.
Mark?
We're all going to be in violent agreement, I think. The workflow, brilliant point about build the house on a good foundation. I couldn't agree more, and that's what our engineers go in and our solutions architects go in. Same thing I think we're all going to be doing, is helping the customer minimize touches, make their operations the most efficient, then layer on top of that the workflow before it gets to the press. But what is that workflow? Is it applications driven? Many cases it is, and there are people that aren't on this panel that we all work with, GMC and Extreme, et cetera. So there's a front-end document composition layer, there's the moving of the data files around. All of that stuff, yeah, our partners that we work with, definitely a big piece of that whole interaction. But then actually moving the data to the press, that's the easiest part of it all. But it's getting to that point that all of us have those networking. You know, I call it PrintOS, you've got Prisma. We've all got different things that help integrate all that together, and that's a critical piece of it. And yes, I think we're all interoperating with different hardware equipment, right?
Can I mention one other thing on this? Do yourself a favor as a printer. Let us come in and do our job to do that assessment. Let us, I think we'll probably all do the same thing. You know, we'll come in and set expectations of what sort of resources we need from you, and take the time, take the few days to actually let us do our job.
You'll learn a lot from
it. You'll learn from it. You may learn some facts that you like. You may learn some facts you don't like. But it's the right approach, and we'll help you build the right solution regardless of which company it is.
Please, Roger. Rico.
Thanks. No argument here. I think I agree with you guys wholeheartedly. I think maybe for someone out there who's thinking about moving into Inkjet or trying, Pat, as you said, trying to get the data to the printer, I think the real question to think about is, am I investing with an organization that has something beyond just this one element? So you're looking at this panel right here, and you're realizing that these are a few of the folks here who are differentiated from the rest of those folks who are sitting out on the other side of this wall. If you look through, you know, the top, I think the last time I counted, there were 42 Inkjet providers in the U.S. providing systems. But if you look at those 42 and you drew a criteria that we just crossed right here, that number of people that could provide to you would drop down to 6 or 7. And if you dug a little bit deeper and you said, how do I differentiate those 6 or 7, it would be nuances. It's no mystery. I think Inkjet's been around since 1876. We're leveraging a very old style technology in a new way. So how well we as competitors move the whole industry together forward is important, I think. I think we each kind of spur each other along, and that investigation that we do, you benefit from. you know, if you're left with a system on your floor that's not getting data because of software systems aren't in place, someone on one of our teams made a mistake, you know. So that investment is beforehand, it's with us, it's an assessment. It also comes who's holding your hand and helping you after the press is in place and the software is rolling. You know, do they have teams in place where we can come out and say, hey, we're interested not in the sale, but in your long-term volume, margin, growth, right?
Thank you so much. So the print chatters were, you know, really focused on the supplies too. They want to understand what is their cost, this cost going to be to them for the special paper they need, the special treatment they need, the special spray they need, the special drying they need. You know, this is not a secret. But let's address it. From what is the fine print on all of that? Are they going to need new suppliers? And also, they were very curious about proprietary inks. So why don't we let's just get it out there. You want to start? Roger.
Right.
Rico.
I get the. Was that the elephant in the room? So
I hope not.
It's no mystery that when you move technologies, when you move from a toner system and you move into inkjet, you're going to be changing the way you look at your systems, and you're going to be involved with different types of papers and inks and proprietary systems.
They get that. They want to know how much
Exactly.
it's going to cost them.
You can't sit here and say it's X cents per X. It's just
Okay.
It doesn't happen like that. What you're looking for is the provider able to help you once they know the applications? Do they have systems in place that help you, enable you to understand what those costs are? Do they have software systems that estimate the inks that you're going to use, that track the inks that you're going to use? Do they have systems in place that enable you to look through a score of different type of papers and enable you to get the right papers for the right costs? If you're running a laser bond form and you're in a transactional space, what paper changes do I have to make this work? The question isn't, oh, is it a number? We all are smart enough to know that it's not a number. It's an estimation and a prediction and then a number.
So, but isn't it like a math formula? Like if you use this much paper, it needs this much ink, and then it costs this
No,
much.
it's not.
No.
It's nowhere even
Okay, so I
close to
don't
that.
do math, just so everyone knows,
Yeah.
and I'm asking because I don't know,
Okay.
but
So
that's why I do what I do, because I
think
don't know.
about this. There are known entities going into a file. Absolutely. You know that you're going to have, let's say you have a run of 10,000. But do you know what every single page is going to look like when you get the job? Have you done an analysis of that? That's where, there is a formula, there is an answer to that, but you have to collect all those parameters ahead
Right.
of time. So
You
if
have
you
to
say
have, I get it.
Yeah,
No, you have to
exactly.
have it first.
right, so there's a number, but I have to see all the pieces.
Got
right?
it.
Yeah, and coverage is not coverage because it's how you build your color that can be a significant part of it. It's actually there's quite a bit of variability, and I will tell you that as much as the inkjet business in general would like to say they've got accurate estimation prior to printing, I would challenge that. I think that there's really some variability in there. The expectation though of this, hey look, in our case, let's say it's UV inks. Gee, I can run UV inks on my press, and they're cheap. They're this amount. Why do we have to pay more for your UV inks? And by the way, you do. It's a different type of ink. It uses different types of fillers. I mean, there's a lot of technical reasons. We'd be happy to sit down and explain it, but it's not the same stuff that you're loading up in your press. And it is the significant reason of why we can jet at the speed that we can jet at. So, there's a give and take, but it's not. It is a challenging part of the market. I think especially in the segment that we sit with the KM1, it's particularly challenging because you tend to have very, very, very high coverage, and that variability. There's some variability there. So we do partner with some providers that are pretty well known that you guys probably all know here to reduce ink costs. I'm sure like everyone else does, to reducing costs, to build the color differently, and to, you can get 25 to 40% savings in your ink, but it is more expensive than it's going to be on that press, so don't have the expectation.
Let me tee off something you just said, because how you build your files, this is actually a critical thing for people who are designing stuff. So I had a customer that was doing a direct mail campaign, and there was this big solid bar that was 100% cyan with 40% black under it. Well, taking that 40% blackout or playing with the amount of cyan, changing the look of that one bar over the course of 4 million impressions in a month, we're not talking a small percentage reduction in cost. That's the kind of conversation that you have to have upstream, but it's a good conversation to have because, to answer the original question, yes, inkjet inks are more expensive than offset inks. Not going to hide it, not going to lie about it. It is what it is. Offset inks are a commodity that are slathered on paper in a very old printing process. Inkjet inks are jetted through microscopic nozzles, in some cases with heat, in some cases with a pressurized piezo system, but the amount of technology that has to go into the ink is an integral part of the printing process now. And the heat point that it boils at and the pressures that it goes through and the nanoparticulates that are in the ink that either wear the heads away or not, all of that stuff becomes critical to the success of that product. So yes, the inks are more expensive. They're an integral part of the process. I think we're all very good at estimating the ink costs. I know with ours, we're claiming about a 5%. Within 5%, we can estimate it accurately, and we track that. The paper is the other that we haven't answered yet, and that's been a big thing in the industry. Is, do I have to buy expensive papers? I've been doing this for a while. Pat and I've been doing this for a long time. In the beginning, when you were looking at special inkjet papers, they cost 2 to 3 to 10x what conventional commodity papers were. Guess what? Inkjet didn't take off. Inkjet needed to have papers that were more commodity-based pricing, that were more widely available, that you didn't have to wait for or boat in to use. And what you've seen, I think all of us, I think we're all in the same boat on this. We've all come up with ways to use either special paper or to use specialty treatments on the press itself.
Thank you very much. Chad from Canon.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because when it comes to designing work for Inkjet, we literally wrote the book on it. It's called The Designer's Guide for Inkjet. And anybody who doesn't have one, please swing by the Canon booth. If we don't have them in the stand anymore because we're out, we'd be happy to get your name and get one to you. But it's very critical, and that's also part of our onboarding of applications. Whenever we do install an inkjet press on your floor, is we work with your pre-press teams, your composition teams, to make sure that the work that's being designed is optimized for inkjet, so that you can deliver the lowest cost of production while giving the biggest bang for your buck. So you're delivering on the expectations of your customers. Now, as it pertains to media, that's a great point because every media is going to use a different amount of ink. One will hold more than the other. It's that simple, which is why when we do the initial analysis that I'm talking to you about, and let me point out, the worst thing we can tell you when we do that analysis is that you're doing everything exactly right. There's no room for improvement. But typically, part of that discovery process is understanding what are your applications, what are your medias. Let's run some and see exactly how much ink. We're going to calculate it down to the microliter, and I'm going to give you probably within 5%, that's fair. What does it cost to run that? Now we can do a real analysis to see what are my costs going to be to produce X amount of this on this media. So that's part of that initial analysis, and I think it's important to understand what those costs are up front. In a lot of cases, they're going to shock you at how much money you can save, but in some cases, you may find, you know what, maybe not the best technology for the work I do, but it's better to know up front. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So we're going to wrap it up now, but in literally, this is like a print chat, we play games where I like tell people they have to pick one or, and I don't mess around, like you can only pick one. So in this case, 2 sentences on the value proposition of working with your company and how people can get in touch after the show. Or 1 sentence, but no more than 2 sentences, because we've got literally 2 minutes. Chad?
Doing business with Canon, we understand your business. We have the portfolio to deliver on expectation. Please give us the opportunity to demonstrate that for you. And we're in booth 1213.
Thank you so much, Chad. Good job.
Okay, at Konica Minolta, we're going to value your profitability and help you make a business or build a business around the products that we're offering. It's not just about selling you a product. So you can tweet us at Konica Minolta US. We've got a very good social media group that'll answer for it.
Good job, Eric Holdo, Konica Minolta.
With HP, it's about productivity, quality, upgradability, and sustainability. We're your partner in this together. Your growth is our growth. Your profitability is our profitability.
And HP is?
www.hp.com/go/graphic-arts.
And booth 613. Great.
And booth 613 and at Printermark.
Good job, Mark Johnson, HP. Rico.
Well, now I have to get a good job at the end of this.
I like you.
Thanks. Okay. You can't go wrong with anybody up here on this panel, period. The differentiation I think you're looking for is partner after the sale. That's what Rico's going to bring to the table. It's not a differentiation in just technology, software, services. It's partnership after the sale. So
A little over the time allotted 2 sentences, but I will give you a pass as this was your virgin territory here. So good job. You get a bop over the head there. Rico is in booth 2022. And guess what, everyone? It's Girls Who Print Day. And in 2 minutes, Trish freaking Wachowski is going to be right on this stage. Girls Who Print Day buttons are over by Mary Beth Smith over there. And are you still letting people take pictures with the tiara? This is your last chance before it goes on the girly to get your pictures. For the next 10 minutes, go see Mary Beth Smith. We will have lunch here right after Trish finishes talking, complimentary lunch. And then we have the Girly Award presentation. Following that, the Women in Leadership panel, everyone is welcome to. And then at 1:45, HP will be here for an historical event. Girls just want to print, and they're bringing some coffee and afternoon snackage. So hang around the Printerverse, people. Print long and prosper. Panel, panel, panel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye.